Oh, there you go. We have 3 participants.
Hello, everyone. I kindly want you just to raise your hands or press in the chat box if you can really hear me. Perfect. First of all, thank you for joining this session this evening. And we were a little late to start just to make sure that you have all settled, came back from work or finished your studies and ready to join our session. Today with us, we have Mr. Edward Wong. I'll allow him to introduce himself in a few. For now, I will be briefing you up on Morgan International, who we really are, and tell you the agenda of tonight's session. Allow me again to introduce myself. My name is Renda. I'm currently the account manager at Morgan International. So I handle the CFA certification program along with other professional certifications. So we can assist candidates. I can assist you on choosing the correct certification for yourself, of course. Tonight, I'll be sharing my screen now to allow you access to the presentation. So here we go. Tonight, we will be going through a lot of info to help you decide on whether the CFA is the proper certification for you or not. In general, we will start by introducing Morgan. Then Mr. Wong will go over one of his favorite topics to give for level 1. And you will be having like a taster session. You will be really having a feel of how the sessions really go and what the topics are really about. After that, we can briefly go over what to expect, inform of the levels, the exam, what is awaiting you, maybe the fees, the schedules, and of course the topics that you will be going through and who is eligible for this program and who can take this program as well. So in general, for those who do not know, Morgan International actually has more than 20 years of experience, more than 26 years of experience in the market. We already have more than 20 plus expert certified instructors in Canada, and we also are available globally in more than 32 locations worldwide. We have more than 125,000 candidates and alumni. And of course, we have leading partnerships with a lot of partners and boards out there. The professional certifications portfolio that we have is big. Currently in Canada, as live online classes, we are providing the CFA and the CPA. But for other professional certifications that we provide along all other locations is the DIP-IFR, which is the Diploma in International Financial Reporting. We also have the CIA, which is the Certified Internal Audit. We also have the CMA, which is the Certified Management Accountant certification. We have other certifications that are non-accounting or finance, which are HR related, like the SHRM, into marketing, like the digital marketing, into supply chain, which is the Certified Supply Chain Professional. At Morgan, Canada, we also provide these certifications for now as self-study. I would like to speak of the importance of this certification before I leave the floor to Mr. Wong and tell you that whoever thinks of going for a professional certification is definitely a winning and has a big return on investment. These certifications are now highly needed from employers. So if now you go and search for a job in accounting, finance, any other field, you will see that the employer is requesting either a CFA or a CPA or a CMA because these certifications are of high value. They have gold standards, unmatched expertise, global perspective. You are globally recognized when you take the certification. As I was saying, you have a big return on your investment, competitive advantage, and of course, you will have a big network to be within the pool of big network, because you can be also communicating with other people that have the certification program. Not to take much of your time tonight, Mr. Wong, I'll leave the floor for you to share your presentation as well and start with this session. So good luck.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? I just want to do a sound check here. Can you hear me? Brenda, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Good, good. I'll start. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you for attending today because, you know, nowadays the world is very, very competitive. Back in the days when I graduated with the BCom, that was already a sense of accomplishment. But nowadays, a BCom will not get you very far. You got to add a few more letters after your name, and there's no better letters after your name than just CFA. So I'm going to show you how to succeed. A frequent question I have is, what should I read? You know, there's actually 4 sorts of learning for you. There's the CFA curriculum books. There's the Schweser books themselves. There's the lectures. And then the instructor usually can give you some value added. So I'm going to give you a demonstration on what we do in class. I have a very good perspective because I lecture a lot of the classes in level 1, 2, and 3. So when I teach level 1, I know what's coming in level 2, and I know what's coming in level 3. So I have a very good perspective for you. So let me give you a sample of what I would do in class. Step number 1, students often ask me, should I even buy this? This is the CFA curriculum readings, and I said, absolutely, because, you know, this is where and what the exams are based upon. If there's a conflict somewhere between the Schweser notes and this is what they refer to. So quickly have a glance. And as you know, students don't like to read this because it's very, very heavy, it's very much in depth, and sometimes they duplicate. So sometimes they take a shortcut. You just look at the Schweser notes. The Schweser notes do an excellent job, really, really do an excellent job. But to allay your own fears and your conscience, you should also have a quick look at this before you go to Schweser notes. And if you enroll in a class with Morgan or any other provider, you will be given lectures using their slides. And they're very good. Step number 3 is this is a value added. So this is what the lectures will do with you, for you. But our instructors, they don't just do this. They give you more value added. And let me show you where we, for example, in this particular section, where I can give you more value added. Very important is the ratios. There's activity ratios, there's solvency ratios, there's basically 5 of them. And one of them is something called conversion cycle. And there's a slide on this, but when you look at this, you look at the readings, it doesn't tell you enough. And I can tell you that this was on the exam, okay? This is a very up-to-date, this is probably the state of the art when you want to assess a company for their liquidity. In other words, their ability to pay their bills.
Mr. Wong, sorry for interrupting. Would you like to share your screen?
Oh, it's not, I thought it did.
Okay, if you would like to share, do you have access for that?
Let's see, oh my goodness, let's see here. Oh, that's terrible.
I'll stop sharing mine and you can go ahead and share yours if you wish.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I thought
Thank you.
here.
No apologies. I thought the glitch was from my end. Go ahead.
Okay, no, that's fine. So, okay, now this should make more sense. So I suggest for you 4 study steps. Okay, you see my screen? Just be sure.
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. Paralysis, yes. Okay, good. So have a look at this just to relieve your guilty conscience, if you wish. Have a look at this. This is really the full basis of your studies. Then you'll get your Schweser notes. You'll get your lectures. So that's number 3. For example, in your Schweser notes, they'll give you things like activity ratios. They'll give you something like conversion cycle. I'm going to really dwell on the conversion cycle because it's really the state of the art. In the past, we've been assessing liquidity using things like the current ratio and the quick ratio, but this is no longer sufficient. The emphasis now is on cash conversion cycle, and I'll dwell a lot on this. And actually, for the last 3 exams, I believe, they had a question on this. So these are all the various ratios that you need. And this is typically what the professor would teach you. No matter how they slice the cake, ratios will come in 5 categories: liquidity, efficiency, solvency, profitability, and valuations. So the way you should study ratios is that under each of these categories, put down 6 classic ratios and memorize them because they're going to be an exam. And so it's quite possible to do if you understand that there's only 5 and you can organize yourself very well. And my additional tip is that pay especially attention to the ratios. Why? Because these ratios are going to come back and haunt you 3 times. You're going to get ratios in FRA, it's the so-called accounting part, and you might have to do something there in order to answer the question of corporate finance. And same thing, you need a ratio to answer a question of equity. So, you know, you get a real bonus by learning the ratios. You will succeed in FRA, it'll help you in corporate finance, and it'll help you in equity. So it's triple whammy. Okay, so in the notes itself, they give you something like this, okay? But as teachers, I like to give you something that gives you value added. And this is what you really have to know. This is what they show you. It's not enough. The teacher can help you more. And that's why we have these classes. Okay, so we all know what the current asset is. Things like cash, marketable securities, accounts receivable, inventory, prepaid. We all know what the current liabilities are. Accounts payable, accrued expenses, notes payable, payroll deductions, etc. And the standard measure of liquidity is something called the current ratio. Current ratio divided by current liabilities, and usually the answer is 2. And you can hang your hat on that. For most industries in real life, if you get a 2-to-1 ratio, that's quite acceptable, okay? But please note this, how much is enough? Well, 2-to-1 is for most companies. And if you are in a very volatile business like retailing, then you would need something 4 to 6 to 1. And if you are in an industry that's very, very stable, like hydroelectricity, your cell phones, etc., a 1-to-1 would be acceptable. So the 2 classic ratios to measure liquidity is the current ratio that we just saw, and something called the quick ratio, where we take out the inventory. So these 2 are the same, but we take out the inventory. And let me show you why we take out the inventory. In a typical balance sheet, you'll see in one line 15,000 for inventory, but that's actually comprised of 3 categories: raw materials, let's say it's 5,000, work in progress 2,000, and then the actual finished goods 8,000. Okay. Now imagine that you are a manufacturer of shirts or blouses. So what's going to happen here? The raw materials is all the cotton and all the other fabrics that you might have in your warehouse. The work in progress is things that are very valuable to you because you have employed labor to cut out the pieces ready for assembly. And then when it's finally all assembled into a shirt or blouse, then you can sell it. But the question is, raw materials is probably not very useful to anybody else besides yourself. And the work in progress is absolutely no use to anybody else but yourself. So when we analyze inventory, we should take out inventory. Why? Because the inventory is probably the weakest link, because nobody wants your fabric. The work in progress is for sure nobody wants it. You might have to pay somebody to dispose of it for you. And the finished goods is only good if you are a going concern. If you have to liquidate, you have to sell to a store like Winners or TJ Maxx, you're not going to get very much value for it. So if you think that a company is in trouble, then what you want to do is assess the liquidity using the quick ratio. Okay. Now, here's the trouble with this traditional analysis. Both give you a ratio as an answer: 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 4-to-1. But it doesn't tell you how many days that you're going to survive. So the latest is this. There's something called the cash conversion cycle. Okay, bear with me. I'll tell you how this works. It's actually quite simple. And hopefully, when you do take this course and you do write your exam, you're going to remember this, because it's highly, highly probable it's going to be an exam. Okay, this is the way it works. This is a business line. On top is what we call the revenue cycle. At the bottom is what we call the disbursement cycle. So typically it looks like this. We buy inventory, we pay for it, it takes up our money, and it stays in our store until it's sold. And then when it's sold, usually we don't get paid right away. It sits in the accounts receivable. So that's why we call this the revenue cycle. Think about it. Your money is being tied up in inventory, then it's being tied up in accounts receivable. There's no money whatsoever. At the bottom is what we call the disbursement cycle. When you buy the inventory, the supplier will give you a grace period, usually 30 days or 45 days before you actually pay. Now, this spot right here is the key. This is known as the cash conversion cycle. So this is a period that we actually need to finance. These are the number of days that we need to finance. This is where we have the shortcoming. So you see, if our payables can be stretched over here, we don't need any external financing. But you don't want to antagonize the suppliers, so you want to pay them on time. So you'll be left with a period where you're going to need a line of credit with some kind of financing from the bank. And the cash conversion cycle is very simple. CCC equals DIH, DSO, and DPO. These acronyms are very, very standard. It's Schweser in most university textbooks. DIH stands for days the inventory is held. DSO stands for the days the sales are outstanding. In other words, how long is your inventory held before it's sold? How long is your receivables? And DPO is the number of days that the payables are outstanding. And this all goes to CCC. Now, how do you calculate DIH? DIH is calculated as you take the inventory divided by the daily cost of goods sold. This will give you DIH. How is DSO calculated? You take accounts receivable divided by the daily sales, and this gives you the days the sales are held. And lastly, how do you get DPO? The days payables outstanding. It's repetitious. You can see is accounts payable divided by the daily cost of goods sold. And when you put it all together, it is actually quite straightforward. It's how long your inventory is held, how long you have to finance receivables, less the days that your payables outstanding, and that gives you your CCP or CCC. Now, if you follow this, you have to tell me what does CCP or CCC actually stand for. In some books, in some texts, they'll call this the CCP, means the cash conversion period. Sometimes they call it the cash conversion cycle. Same thing. So what is it? Would somebody like to take a guess? How can we define this? How can we define CCP? Would somebody like to answer verbally or through a chat? Well, I'll give you the answer. The CCC represents how many days you are caught with your pants down. Basically, that's it. I put this in a humorous fashion because, on the exam, you can have so much to remember, but, I give you things to hang your hats on. You got to remember, oh, yeah, I remember the teacher giving us this funny cartoon, and I know what CCC is. Because really, for this part, you are caught with your pants down. You need financing. You need financing for this particular period. And that's why this is so powerful. When we did the current ratio, when we did the liquidity ratio, what they did was it comes out, the ratio comes out with a figure 2, 3, 4, 5. What does that mean? It's not that meaningful. But when you come to CCP, they tell you the number of days that you can be stuck, how many days you have to finance. So that's much more helpful in a company managing your business, where you as an analyst analyzing the company. CCP, how long can it last for? So if you understood what I just gave a very short lecture on, you would be able to answer this. Do you want a large CCC, or would you like a small CCC? What do you think the question is? What do you think the answer is? The answer obviously would be you want a small CCC. Remember, the CCC is the number of days that you need to finance. We want to avoid financing because it costs money. We have to pay interest on this. So we want to have a small CCC as possible. Now, here's the actual question several times on the CFA Level 1 exam. How do you improve the CCC? Anybody like to try on this? Anybody either by chat or verbal? It's too bad we're not doing this live because I can see you and I can point fingers at you so I can get better participation. But I'll give you the answer. To improve the CCC, this is an actual question on the exam. You do 3 things. You can try to sell faster, so there's less time that your money is tied up in the inventory. You can collect faster. So if your customers pay you within 45 days, try to encourage them to pay you within 30 days. And then the DPO, if you could, try to stretch it a little longer without antagonizing your supplier. If you usually pay within 30 days, see if you can pay 35, 40, or 45 days. If you do all this, this is how you minimize CCP. If this is smaller, and this is longer, then your CCP will be smaller, and this is the end goal of the CCP. So again, the CCP is very valuable. It doesn't give us a ratio. It gives us the number of days that we are exposed and we need external financing. Okay, so that's an example of how in our class, we do cover the curriculum, we do go through the slides, but more importantly, each professor, not just myself, each professor will give you additional value added. And this is how we try to prepare you well for your exam. So I think I'll turn this back to Randa now. If you have any questions, we're here for you. It doesn't have to be on the little lecture we gave you. It could be on Morgan. It could be on the program. You might have a lot of questions like, how long do we have to work for before we qualify? Do you need a degree before you register and all this? So both Randa and I should be able to answer all your questions. Okay, so please feel free to ask either by chat or verbally.
Thank you, Mr. Wong. Actually, what I'm going to be doing now, maybe briefing our attendees with some useful info regarding if they're eligible, if they need any prerequisites before they start with their program, and maybe brief them as well on the details regarding the exam and more for the CFA. So if you remember, we were talking about the importance of this certification. And now it's time to go through the road to this chartered. What does it take? How does this journey begin? So first of all, here we're saying that we will have to meet some certain educational requirements. As we always say, for level 1, to start your level 1, you could be in your final year at university. So you can start your degree, you can take your level 1 if you are in your final year, or if you already have your bachelor's degree, Or if you have 4 years of experience or a combination of 4 years between the educational part and the professional part. Then you will have to pass the 3-level exams. And once you pass the 3 levels, you will have to provide the CFA Institute with 4 years of professional experience to become officially a chartered holder. Now, again, it's a little early to talk about the last part, but to start up, if you are in your final year at university or already have your bachelor's degree in hand, then you are ready to do your level 1 exam and start studying. So, of course, I would like Mr. Wong to help me regarding the details of the exam, the structure, and the material given. So, level 1 is more of a knowledge and comprehension exam, so comprehensive exam. So here it's more you go into, it's mostly theoretical. I can say that, Mr. Wong. So it's mostly theoretical. And the exams now are computer based. If I don't know if anyone knows that before the exams were written, they were paper pencil. After COVID hit, a lot of things have changed. The CFA Institute added actually a lot of testing windows, which is a plus for you guys. And as well, the exam is now computer based. For level 2, it's more of application and analysis, and level 3 is more evaluation and synthesis. So here it's like the technical part of the program. For level 1, Mr. Wong, I would like you to go over the, maybe briefly go over the topic areas of level 1 and briefly into level 2 and level 3, if you do not mind.
Sure. Randa, can you please go back to the previous slide?
Sure.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah. I like to just emphasize level 1. Level 1, there's a misconception. People think that CFA is only meant for financial people. That's not quite true. The CFA is meant for any type of people, any type of study. For example, in my classes, would you believe that I had a pharmacist once? Would you believe that I had emergency MD doctor who's still working at McGill now? Okay, so I still keep in touch with them. I find that so special. So it's open for everybody. Now, if you ask me how would I summarize level 1, I would say that because the CFA charter is meant for everybody, I would classify level 1 as a mini BCom. So all the courses that we do, this is what we typically cover in any BCom program anywhere in the country or anywhere around the world. In L2, you become a real equity analyst and financial analyst. Everything's wider and deeper. You go into much more detail in L2. Now the big jump is in L3. L3, the key word there is your portfolio management. You've been promoted. In level 1 and 2, you're the analyst. You go get the coffee, okay? In portfolio management level 3, you're the top dog. You make the decisions. So there's very little calculations in L3 except in fixed income, but there's a lot of taxes in wealth management. Really a lot of taxes in wealth management because, as you know, taxes could be as much as 53%. So, you know, you make a return of 10%, but afterwards it's 5%. So you got to really know how to manage your portfolio in terms of tax. So again, mini VCom, wider and deeper, and then your top dog, you do portfolio management. Okay, next slide, please, Randa.
Yes, sure.
I will leave my comments for ethics last, okay?
Yeah.
The level 1, as I said, is pretty much a BCom program. Now, even though you have a BCom, even though it's a major in finance, here's the parts I would ask you to be very careful about. And that's FRA, okay, the accounting. In the BCom programs, unless you have a minor or a major in accounting, this will be insufficient. So you're gonna have to do a lot of work on this. Okay, this is usually the difference between passing and not passing, 13 to 17% for accounting. The corporate finance is very straightforward. The other equities heavy is pretty straightforward. If you are from Concordia, JMSB, if you took the finance 410, that's pretty much the equities that you need. The other part that you really have to pay attention to is fixed income. Fixed income is not covered well anywhere. When you take a course in investments, they talk about stocks and more stocks. Seldom do they talk about bonds. So you have to work very, very hard at this. And you know what? There's justice to the world, okay? So we come from different backgrounds. The student that has a BCom will fly through most of this, except through FRA and fixed income. And then the engineer or somebody with a science background, they'll be struggling with this. But there is justice in the world, because when they do QM, they're going to start laughing. You know, they don't have to do this. They know this like the back of their hand. So they'll be strong there, and everything balances out. So overall, you will be okay. So there is justice in the world. Now, let me tell you about ethics. In level 1, you should study ethics really, really, really well. And I'm going to show you how to study ethics. Why? Because ethics is exactly the same. You have 6 code of ethics. You've got 7 standards of professional conduct. And it's the same for level 1, same in level 2, and same in level 3. So if you learn it well in level 1, you will know it for level 2, and you'll know it level 3. Now, what is the difference between level 1, 2, and 3? Yes, you got to know the ethics, you got to know the standards of professional conduct, but in level 3, you got to do a lot of something called GIBS. It's the Global International Professional Standards. So that means that if you have 2 portfolio managers, one achieve 18% return and another one achieve 16% return, which one actually did better? So if they reported on the same basis under something called GIBS, then it would level the playing field and make it fair for everybody. So the GIBS is a lot of emphasis for this in level 3. Now, here's some interesting questions that I often ask. How important is ethics? Well, you can see by the weight itself is really, really important, but the importance is more than what you see there. Let me explain. Do you need, a good question I usually have is, do you need to pass ethics to pass the exam? For example, you get 75% overall in the exam, but you fail ethics. Are you going to pass? Yes or no? What do you think? Anybody like to take a shot at that, including Randa?
Well, I think you don't have the chance to pass if you fail that part. Not, I have John say that. Not, there's no chance you pass.
Okay, that's incorrect.
Okay.
That's incorrect. If you pass the exam, you know, overall 75, 80%, whatever the standard is for that exam, then you will pass, even though you fail ethics. Now, where ethics plays poses a much higher weight than what is given 1520 is that if you're close to a passing,
okay, that would be the push for you to either pass or fail. Okay.
Yeah, if you are close to passing, but you did dismal in ethics, they'll say, kid, go back and study your ethics. That's a fact. That's a fact. And I tell you it's a fact because, I guess 3 years ago, I was invited to a luncheon with the CFA president. She flew in from Virginia, and I forgot if I asked her, somebody asked anyway, we asked her this directly, and that's the answer they gave us. Okay, so that's important. Ethics is, you know, hopefully you'll not be in the borderline, but if you're on the borderline, ethics can make the difference between suffering another summer or going right through. Now, let's see what else I can say about this ethics. Oh yeah, okay. The other thing I would like to say is, since we're talking about exams, what is the pass rate? It's not like a university where you need 50% to pass or 70% to pass, 65. So the question is, how do they determine what the pass rate is? Do they look at the pass rate and say, oh, you know, this year we want 38%, or this year we want 43, or how did they do this? Because a long time ago, it was 90% pass rate, right? But now it's closer to 40, 50. Well, this is the way they do it. They write the exam about 3 years before you actually do it. They test it, and they test it to make sure there's no errors. So can you imagine there's error on the exam? So you can't take a chance. And then when you write the exam, I don't know if they changed it, but they used to take the 10 best papers. Okay. So if the 10 best papers got 100%, then they take 70% of that. So the pass rate for that year would be 70. So if the exam was exceedingly hard and the 10 best papers only was 90, then they would take 70 to 90 and the pass rate would be 63. That's what they do. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Now let's see what else. In next year, you will get there. Trust me, you'll get there. You'll have to emphasize a lot on equity and fixed income. And the most difficult part of L2, trust me, I'm a CPA, trust me, the most difficult of L2 will be your financial reporting analysis. You'll do things like consolidations. You'll do things like foreign currency translation. You'll do things like pension accounting. Let me put it this way. In university, they have a full course on consolidation. And this is only one small part of the FRA level 2. So you'll pay a lot of attention to this. And in L3, just to warn you, you will do wealth management. Like here's this 30-40, but it's, in reality, it's like 60. Okay, so all this is tied in really. When you get the L3, really pay attention to wealth management, pay attention to taxes. This is where all the ball waxes right here, okay? So this is the overview. Level 1, the BCom, 2, wider, deeper, and 3, you're the boss. Okay, you have to make decisions. Okay, is there anything else, Randa, you'd like me to elaborate on?
Let us move to the actually second slide. You spoke already about the passing rates. That was amazing. And I would like to actually, with your help, highlight on, I know how much candidates are intimidated by the, the passing rates globally. I always personally say it as a person that has been an advisor to this program or all other programs at Morgan, and I believe Mr. Wong could also help me on that. We always say, like, guys, just forget about that part for a second. We want you to focus on your studies, do the commitment, do your best. Just don't be intimidated by those numbers. Don't let this be a barrier for you to freak out and go panicking to your exams. So yes, the passing rates globally are not high, but you could be between the small percentage that, or the percentage that passes. So never focus on, oh my God, I'm not going to pass because they select, or oh my God, I'm not going to pass because the percentage is too low. Let's focus on the positive part and say, I'm going to study, I'm going to really be committed to this, do my best, do my portal access, read, attend all sessions, do my best, and let us see what the outcome is. I don't know if Mr. Wong has something to say about the passing rates as well.
Yes, I have a lot to say.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
look. When I was in school, I was so envious of my Greek friends. They had very, very long names, and I thought that looked so good. And my name is Wong, so only 4 little letters. And I said, look, I'm going to add some letters after my name. So I happened to hold an MBA. Besides the CFA, as I said before, I'm also a CPA. Now, when I look at these pass rates, I think this is good news. We should not look at this as negative. Here's why. My MBA is from a very, very good school, and it's still worth a lot. But generally, the MBA degree, the prestige has really, really declined because, you know, nowadays you can get an MBA online and attend classes once every 2 weeks and so on. So it's really, really been diluted. Now, when you look at the CFA pass rates, it's going in the opposite direction. It's actually going down. So so it becomes more prestigious. It's worth more. So that's good for you when you pass. Now, don't get intimidated by 35%. I've looked at this very, very carefully, and I have 2 explanations. The reason why it's so low It's not because the exam is so hard. You have to look at these circumstances. The first reason is that when the people wrote it, it's like being on death row, okay? They gave an announcement that the exam is going to be in November. So you prepare yourself. Okay, this is it, my final call, January. Then when it comes to date, they said, oh, sorry, we postponed it. So that means you have to study everything over again. And it's not once, they did it 3 times. So by the time the people actually wrote the exam, they were so fed up, so let me just get over with, okay? So that's the number one reason. The exam during COVID was postponed several times. And the second reason is, I hope we will be able to solve this eventually. All the classes has been online. Online is better than no class, but I tell you, online is no, you should know, online is no substitute for being live. Okay, so all the courses have been remote with consequences, and really it's not the most effective way to learn. You could, but it's not most effective. But you know, that's the way it is. So that explains the pass rate. So look at the 35% as good, because when you do get your CFA designation, it's worth more. And this is really extraordinary. I think the pass rate will be going back up to closer to 50%. Now, one final point, I'm a teacher, okay? I'm not here to sell you. I want to be very objective. So whether you take Morgan or any other provider, do yourself a favor, do it. Historically, when you do with another provider, or Morgan, hopefully, the pass rate is usually a good 15 to 20% higher. Here's why. It's quite logical. You are fed by a professor, and they can lead you, and sometimes they give you hopefully they give you interpretation that you cannot do by yourself by reading the book. Second of all, let me give you a tip. When you study, don't ever fall behind. The material is very intense. You know, usually you spend 300 hours studying for this over, say, 6 months. If you fall behind, it's extremely difficult to catch up. Think about it. If you can't stay on top of it, how are you going to do 2 lectures for the following week? So never fall behind. But when you take a prep course, you don't really have a chance to fall behind, because every week the professor will lead you. So even if you have the time to read the stuff before you go to class, that's good. If you don't have time to read stuff, but you attend class anyway, that's also good, because after the lecture, when you go back to read, you'll say, oh yeah, I remember teacher talking about this. He said this was important. Oh, he explained this. Oh, I get it when I read it. So that's one of the big benefits of taking a prep course. It keeps you on track, not to fall behind, and you will make a lot of friends there. So you'll have a study group, and as they say, misery loves company, so you can cry on each other's shoulders and encourage each other to keep on working hard. So don't get discouraged by this 35, okay? Some people will pass, and why not you?
Exactly. Thank you, Mr. Wong, on that. And I totally agree with you. Like, we have a lot of candidates that choose to self-study, which could be a good choice for many. But I know for a fact how effective the classes are. Everything you said is 100% true. The notes, the tips, the resulting of having friends and maybe doing some study groups is really helpful for you, gives you a push. So yes, that I believe the classes are ultimately really important. I'm just going to brief you up on the levels, how the levels are going through the exam structure. So usually level 1 is around 180 MCQ questions. Again, it's a computer-based exam. You have a morning session and an afternoon session. Previously, between the morning session and the afternoon session, you had a long break. Now you have the chance to directly do your afternoon session immediately after the morning one, or take a 30-minute break. As for level 2, there are around, the exam actually is between item sets and vignettes. Again, it's a morning and afternoon session. And for level 1 and level 2, the results are out usually in less than 60 days. Let's say up to 60 days, you'll be receiving your results. Whereas level 3, it's more of an item set vignette of constructed responses, which is an essay. And you have a morning and afternoon session as well. And this actually will take more time to have the results released. It takes around 90 days for your exam results to be out. So usually you receive your exam results by email by the CFA Institute, and these are the only official results you should be getting. I have a question here. Okay, what are the item sets and vignettes? Mr. Wong, would you like to help on this one?
Yeah, sure.
Because you can explain it better than me, of course.
Okay, can you flip back to the
Sure.
Yeah.
Just a second. Is this
Okay.
good?
So let me clarify this for you. In level 1 is MCQ 180. I'd like you to divide, just for fun, 2.25 hours divided by 180. Which means that you have roughly a minute and a half for each question.
Oh.
So here's a tip for you. When you do your exam, make sure you know your calculator, because you make sure you know your calculator like you know your cell phone. Because on the exam, you don't have time to say, oh, how do I do the present value? How do I do this? So make sure you know how to do this. Level 1, MCQ. Level 2 is also MCQ. The vignettes are mini cases. So they'll give you a description of some circumstance, then they'll give you 6 questions based on this mini case. But essentially, it's still multiple choice. The big change is in level 3. In level 3, you're actually going to learn, you're going to have to write things. So you're going to have some, let's see, you have 2 exams. One exam will be multiple choice. The other one will be written. They're going to give you a case. They're going to ask you very specific questions. Then you're going to have to write out the answer. So when you're in my level 3 class, I'll give you tips on how to handle this. In level 2, I'll give you tips on how to handle this. And level 1, I'll give you tips on how to handle this. I can give you a couple of tips right now. The MCQs, as of now, well, first of all, like I said, you only have roughly a minute and a half to do each question. So make sure you know your calculators. Make sure you can do the questions quickly. Do the questions you know first, and leave the difficult ones at the end. And I shouldn't tell you this, but I'm going to tell you this. The difficult questions you don't know, take a guess. Okay, just guess. Because right now, they do not penalize you for wrong answers. So, you know, you have 3 answers, and usually one of them doesn't smell right. So then it's 50-50. So you have an excellent chance to get the right answer. So don't leave anything out. Guess, work quickly. So that's some of the tips I have for you right now when you're writing the level 1 exam.
Moreover, actually, for whoever is concerned about what are the MCQs, what are the item sets, how could I really answer them? With our material, we provide you with an online access for you to practice on hundreds, if not thousands of questions. So while you're practicing, you will definitely take a good or have a good grip on what to really expect on terms of the exam format. You're most welcome, dear. So challenges for preparing for your exam. Here, I'm gonna definitely tell you some things that I believe all of our candidates go through. And I know that Mr. Wong will also agree on them. Definitely, we start with time management. One of the biggest challenges is time management. You really have to start your CFA by saying, okay, I might have a few months of staying a little bit more at home on weekends, missing out on some gatherings with friends. I'm not demotivating you. Actually, these are facts. You will really have to be dedicated. You have to study more than 300 hours. And once the exam gets closer, you have to put some more hours into your studying days. Studying should be a habit for you. Like, you cannot study on Monday and then your next session will be on Friday. You study on Friday. No, you have to study on daily basis. If today you cannot put 2 hours into studying, okay, it's fine. Put like half an hour and make it up the next day or on weekends. So time management is really important. Something else that the portal provided to you will give you is the time. So they provide you with like a schedule and something to manage your time. Like, for example, you put your exam date and they should tell you approximately how many hours per day you should be studying. The second actually challenge is motivation. You will have a lot of people telling you, I had candidates come to me freaking out, like all of my family told me, what am I doing to myself? It's impossible for me to pass this exam. I can tell you, no, you have to forget what everybody's saying. You have to self-motivate yourself and really surround yourself with people that could push you to do your best, motivate you, be positive around you. I know this is a big thing, like having people really demotivating you around could really affect you, but you have to try to surround yourself with a lot of positive people and work on your self-motivation as well. Another big challenge is using your study time efficiently. I could be studying or in my room for 5 hours, but I'm not really being effective with my studies. So candidates try to spend an equal amount of time on every topic in the curriculum and create their own notes. You have to know how to distribute your timing based on the weight of each topic. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Wong. So based on the topic weight, they should be distributing their time accordingly.
Very much so.
Another challenge is practicing the concepts. So candidates often spend too much time trying to learn the material and not practicing the concepts. The difference between professional certifications and any other academic degree is the practice you put into your studies. This is a technical practical chartered, like the CPA, like the CMA. So you really get to know the technical part of your field. Whereas if we look at the other side, like when we're at school doing our bachelor's degree, we really do not practice much. So the CFA puts you into the practice. You have to be practicing. You shouldn't be just reading your material. You really have to practice your material and the concepts. So this is a big challenge while you're preparing for your exam. Moving forward, the testing schedules, again, I was mentioning that previously, before COVID hit, before the world became a big mess, the CFA used to offer the exam for level 1 twice a year, every June and December, for level 2 once a year, and level 3 once a year. Whereas now you have more options, and this is actually a plus for you guys. So for level 1, it's in 2022, it is being offered in February, May, August, and November. For level 1, for level 2, August and November, and for level 3, May and August. We cannot know if next year the testing windows will be changing. We should expect anything because the CFA Institute is always looking forward to really do their best to provide the best. But again, for 2022, these are the testing schedules out there. Moving for our live online classes, for now, we are currently starting our level 1 classes around June 21. So whoever would like to start up with our program could start registering from now. I will definitely write down my email address in the chat box. You also have the contact found, you can see on your screen, which is infocanada@morganintl.com. You can just send me an email. I can send you the level 1 schedules coming up. And I just have a small announcement regarding the registrations. Whoever registers starting now till first week of May, we are offering a 10% discount on our CFA classes. Just to give you an idea what this chartered may cost you. So for level 1, if you get the classes and the material for 1,500 Canadian dollars, and your exams will be around between $1,000 and $1,800, depending on when do you register for your exams. Usually the exam price for the first time is high because you have a one-time enrollment fee you will have to pay at the beginning. But later on for your level 2 and level 3, you pay less. So for now, we are offering a 10% discount for whoever would like to join us and join our classes. I'm gonna write my email address here. So my name is Randa again, and this is my email for whoever would like to reach out. This is basically my email. Before I start wrapping up and taking your questions in, something I really like to focus on, again, I'm not scaring you, nor Mr. Wong is scaring you, but it's really important to be serious about this program. We know that this is a trending, booming certification or charter that everybody's jumping into, but let us really consider that you're paying your money to really find a really good outcome at the end. You have to be focused, committed. We, as Morgan, with the instructors, are providing you with the best experience you can get. But again, alone, we cannot do the work. You will have to be studying on daily basis, doing your preparations before each class. It's really good to go over your material, prepare for the upcoming session, write your questions. Between one session and the other, it's very important to be doing your practices on the portal. You have an amazing portal from Kaplan Schweser that you can practice on. You will be provided with video lectures. Each session we do is also recorded. You have a lot of tools to study on, which I believe are more than enough for you to pass if you really commit to the material and to attending the classes as much as possible. And definitely it's not rocket science. Whoever is committed could be a fresh graduate and do a pass from first attempt, and some people have many years of experience, and because they do not do the proper commitment, they just fail. So it's all about your commitment. It's not about your background. Again, like Mr. Wong was saying, he had people from the medical field. I had engineers coming in doing the program. I had people that have their own businesses. So as long as you're willing to do this commitment, the CFA will definitely be a really good investment for you. So I'm ready to take your questions, and you can really type your question in the chat box. Mr. Wong, I'm not sure if you would like to add something to what I said before we start taking the questions in.
I just want to mention one thing, another tip for our candidates. Randa, can you please show the previous slide?
Sure. This one?
No, the one before this, I guess. Yeah,
Here?
okay. My comment is, you use the word before commitment.
Yes.
Okay, so if you're serious about writing in August, don't wait, commit yourself, say, I'm gonna do it. I don't want to hear anything else. I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna suffer, but I'm gonna do it. So don't wait till the last minute and say, you know what, I'm gonna do it, because you got to prepare yourself mentally, and you got to prepare yourself time-wise. So the earlier you commit, the better the results for you. That's very, very true. Okay, so if you're gonna write in August, I think you should commit immediately. Same thing in November. Can I see the next slide?
Sure, the following one.
Yes, look, no, sorry.
Actually, just to add on this one,
Yes.
this is changing. We are currently not providing weekend classes anymore. We are more providing the classes in the afternoons. So the classes are usually going to be for level 1 every Tuesday from 6 to 9. This is a very recent update. So I'm not sure you would like to add, you would like to comment on this one.
No, that's fine. I think by popular demand, classes are preferred during the week, so people can study, not go play, but study on the weekends.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I just want to mention something about the cost. Yeah, it does cost, and nowadays it's hard to earn money, and everything's expensive. But let me put it in perspective for you. Textbooks are very expensive, and when you graduated, do you remember how much you spent on textbooks? I don't think so. Same thing here. If one of these providers can help you pass, believe me, you're not going to remember this 1,500 or 2,000. It's a word for you to pass, and that's the way I look at it. Like, same thing with your textbooks, same thing about your tuition. when you graduate, that's the least that you worry about, because
Yes.
the benefits you get from achieving your whatever degree that you have, or getting the CFA, this money you spend is going to be so minor. And I think you would agree with this.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, the tools they got with this package, let me just really emphasize on something, that we have studied our CFA prices very well, because we know for a fact how somehow expensive the exam is, and if we compare it to other certifications out there. So we really made sure to study our prices in a way that candidates can afford taking the classes, the benefits of the classes, the material in full, and as well paying for their exams. So with this budget, or with this amount, you will be getting the 5 textbooks. Actually, everything you get is hard copy and digital copies. So that's really important for you to know. Whoever is comfortable maybe studying, I'm old school. I love really writing on my books. Some people prefer studying on their phones. So they gave you both options. There is something we also share with you, actually by the provider. They share with you the printed and the digital material of the slides. So the instructor slides are shared with you as well. There's the summary of all levels called the secret sauce, in which you get, there's something called a quick sheet, which includes all of the formulas that you will be using. And our instructors are very helpful. I think we'll be giving you some tips on how to use your calculators, so that you won't be wasting your time during the exam by really writing the whole equation or whole formula. You just learn the tips from our instructors, and you'll get to know how to use your calculators as well. There are slide workbooks, the software, of course, which is amazing. That's exclusive for you to use. The videos per reading you get, the instructions, the module quizzes, the question banks, the practice exams. This package is amazing for you to start with, and it's more than enough actually. And for whoever is really afraid of the step, I always repeat this, like, guys, what's the worst thing that could happen? Fail the exam? You tried it. You know now your weaknesses. You can study again and do it all over again. It's worth it. And again, if you really put the proper commitment, be smart with your studying, I don't think you will be failing. But let's say the worst scenario is failing the exam, you can simply repeat it. It's worth your time. It's worth your money, because this is an investment for life. So I'm ready to take your questions. I hope actually we covered everything. We tried to cover everything tonight. If we missed out on something, please share your questions or concerns in the chat box. And after the session tomorrow, next week, at any time, I'm ready to answer your questions or any question that pops up by email or even by phone. So who would like to maybe share a question, a concern? I'm ready to read the questions. Let me check if we have any questions here. I'll give you, like, if you want, a couple of minutes to think of any questions.
Don't be shy. This is your big chance to ask any question you want.
True. Even any technical question, Mr. Wong can help us with the technical questions regarding the material.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be on the presentation tonight or
No.
briefing. It could be anything about the CFA program.
Yeah. And whoever actually is considering maybe or has read about other certifications as well and would like to ask if I know some comparisons happen. So you can, of course, feel free to ask about any other certification as well.
Brenda, I just want to emphasize something called the Q bank.
Yes, please.
You know, you're going to be covering so much material, and one of the most difficult parts about writing exam is to remember everything that you study for. And this Q bank is indispensable because you have over 4,000 questions there. So you keep on doing them, it keeps on refreshing your memory. And the ones you don't know, you say, okay, I don't know this. There's a chance that they master, so you go back and study. This Q bank itself is really, really useful.
Yes, it is indeed actually. And I believe the more they practice, the better they become. Their
Yes.
analytical skills
Yeah.
like really become better. And whatever question is given to them in the exam, they can really analyze it properly. So they teach you, the material teaches you a certain way of thinking, the way they want you to think and analyze questions. So don't expect to have the same exact questions given to you in the exam. It's just the concept of the question. They teach you how to think. They teach you of the concepts, how to analyze. So that's what makes people with a professional certification outstand than those that do not have one. And that's why employers are really eager to get to have people that are certified to get the job, because they know for a fact on how hard they have worked to get this certification, how credible they are, how their skills, their info, their knowledge will bring a plus to the company. Maybe now, maybe some of you are still in university, maybe some of you have already graduated. So I think whoever is looking for a job could really understand what I'm saying, because a lot of employers in Canada, the US, the Middle East, India, Europe are all looking for people holding professional certifications to get the job. I know for a fact that whoever has a chartered, for example, CFA or CPA, gets the job faster than anyone that does not hold the certification. You can see the salaries. There's a difference in salary. Whoever has certification gets a higher salary as well. So these are things for you to consider. You can do your research as well. We hopefully will be posting some articles on our pages, on our social media pages. So make sure to follow us on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook. Uh, we are working on starting to post some articles and some really valid info that you can benefit from reading and really knowing the importance of professional certifications. Mr. Wong, I would like to ask you if you'd like to wrap up the session with anything before we uh, tell them a good night and end for tonight.
Yes, I'd like to emphasize something else that you just mentioned in terms of competitiveness for the job market.
Yes. Yes.
You don't actually have to earn your CFA and put that three little letters after your name. For example, if you just graduated and you really you want to get in investments, just the fact that you put down candidate level 1 on your resume, that could
Yes.
make all the difference between somebody that just says BCom. Because when an employer looks at your resume, they say, oh, this person committed to pursuing the CFA designation, they must be very serious about investments. And there's a good chance you'll get the interview, you know? So if you get the interview, there's a chance that you might get the job. If you don't get the interview, they pass over your resume and you'll never get a chance to get into investments. Now, my last point is, again, it has to do with the Q bank. When you are in university, you cram. At least I did. So if I know tomorrow's math exam, I cram for math. And one of the things that makes the CFA exam very difficult is you can be tested on all the material, not just math. You'll be tested on everything, like 6 different topics. It's going to be all mixed up. So that's why I tell you the Q bank is so useful, because retention is half the battle. You might know it today, but when you come write an exam a couple of months later and they mix it up, you're going to forget.
Oh.
If you do the Q bank and you get the answers and you work on the questions, it's just going to really reinforce in your mind. So you'll be much better prepared on the exam. So really,
Yes.
that's one difficulty of the CFA exam. They throw all 6 categories on you at once.
True. And that's why we tell the candidates, the more they practice, the better they become, not in terms of answering the
Absolutely.
questions only, but really I know how hard it is to sit for many hours doing an exam. So they even teach you how to be disciplined for a few hours and really do the exam without feeling like you're bored or you're not focused anymore. So yes, everything is taught, tips are given. Our instructors are amazing, super friendly, are ready to answer your questions, not only during the session, but after the sessions as well. We as Morgan are always available to hear your comments to improve. We are really ready to have you start up. I would be more than happy to answer any of your questions at any point of time. Our registrations are open now, and you can start registering. We also have an installment plan, so whoever cannot pay as a one-shot payment could also install their payments among 2 or 3 monthly installments. So this is a plus for you if you register starting now, because the sooner you get closer to the classes, this option will not be really available. Our classes, if starting in June, will end in September. You will be given the classes once a week from 6 to 9 p.m., which would give you much time to prepare for your next following session. Mr. Wong, I would really like to thank you for tonight, for
No,
taking from
I
your
like to.
time and being with us.
No. It's a pleasure. I do this because I really want to help the students. And on that note, thank you, participants, for attending. And
Yes.
I don't leave you cold and dry like this. If you have any questions that perhaps you're a little bit too shy to ask tonight, or perhaps that you think of later on, please contact Randa, and she'll
Yes,
forward to me, and I'll answer them for you. Okay. So I don't just leave you now. If I can help you in the future, feel most free to write to me.
definitely, that's for sure. Again, as well, I would like to thank you for tonight. Hoping, of course, to hear from you soon. Please, of course, keep yourselves tuned on our social media pages, because we always have free info sessions going on. If you're unable to join us now, you can join at any point of time later on. And you can attend all of our other info sessions, maybe webinars, seminars. Thank you again. And thank you, Mr. Wong. I'm going to wish you all a very nice evening. Bye-bye.